Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's West Coast Wolf coming at you with another episode. We're talking tonight about news, politics, and the removal of black wealth in the entertainment industry for our people. We have a real special guest tonight, another community activist. He's going to talk to us about the local politics in the Bay Area, what's going on that's going to affect us, and how we're fighting against those things. We got some wins. We took a few L's. We got some wins too. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to get this thing going real nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and do a room check and let's see who's in the room. And also, I want to give a shout out to rest in peace, Miss the Prince. Prince passed this last week, and I want to play a couple of songs in remembrance of him and Michael Jackson too, because for what we're talking about tonight, I want you guys to kind of like remember them for what they did for us, and a lot of things we can talk about tonight that maybe people don't know that they were getting it in the back. So I want to make sure we show respect for them, because although they wasn't the normal person as far as you can see the most masculine men that we had in our community, but behind the scenes they were doing a lot of great things. So what I want to do, I want to just play a clip of each one of their songs. Since Michael Jackson passed, I want to really show some respect for him. I want to play a piece of his song that he played, that he performed, he created. It was done, this video for this song was done overseas because the U.S. would not allow him to play it here, and it's for good reason, because I saw the video, and many of you have too. So I want to just give you a brief clip into that. It's called "They Don't Care About Us," and I want to discuss that. So I'm gonna give you a small clip of that. Just notice the lyrics in the song, and you can just imagine the pain that he was going through during this time. So I'm gonna give a few minutes for that, and we'll get back into some real deep issues. The things he was saying, so stay tuned. And it just proves so true. That's why I tell my people today, listen, man, we gotta wake up. We don't have time to be messing around with these Negro trinkets and these little plans, these games that's going on that keep people busy all day, just zoning out on just foolishness. Because listen, this man was worth, I'm talking about maybe a billion dollars or so, but he died, and a lot of things he didn't get tallied up the score on his wealth and whatnot. But I'm just gonna tell you, he died mysteriously. People want to blame it on drugs, and they always try to put some little spin on what happens with our people. But I'm gonna tell you, I don't believe none of that stuff. I really don't, and because I know the deeper picture here with white supremacy with our people. Like I said before in one of our earlier broadcasts, I talked about how we were brought over here. And if you keep this in your mind, you will truly understand. Black people were brought over to this country for one purpose. That was to make money for white people. Period. That's it. We were here to build this country from scratch, because the Native Americans wouldn't do it. They had to kill them. They wasn't going to do it. They was warriors. And they was on this their land, so they wasn't going to be enslaved. So that was a hard thing for them to swallow, because it's their land. So they rather die than to go off into slavery. But they brought our people. We stripped us from our land. I guess they learned a few tricks along the way, and they brought us here to build this country. So I say that because we represent wealth for America. We did for a long time. We still do. But our people don't see it that way, okay, because slavery was abolished, so to speak, and we have a few things that we can do now. But in the bigger scheme of things, Michael Jackson had to find out the hard way. Many people don't know, some of you do, some of you don't, that he bought the catalog for the Beatles. And he outbid Paul McCartney. Now, Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson did a few songs together. They are considered to be good friends. But you'll notice after that deal was done, they never worked together again. And I noticed I was reading something online that's talking about how Paul McCartney said that he greatly appreciated working with Michael, but he felt he was a good boy man. Now, I don't know what he meant by boy man, but I know what it means to some of us. But maybe because Michael was kind of like, real shy and real reserved type of dude. But I just want you to think about something. Paul McCartney, he was good, great musician and whatnot. And he wrote some songs for Michael. Michael wrote some songs for him, whatnot. But the thing is, these were friends, okay? I'm trying to get you guys to see this picture here. They were friends. And Michael saw the business side of it. And from what I'm reading, Michael actually bidded on the catalog, which is over Paul McCartney's head. But the reading has it said that Paul McCartney said he wasn't going to bid on the catalog for the Beatles and whatnot. He wasn't going to bid on it, and a colleague of his wasn't going to bid on it. So people were thinking for a long time that Michael Jackson actually was doing this bid for the catalog of the Beatles on the low for Paul McCartney. See, they thought that for a long time, so they hashing the deal out. I think somewhere around $46 million or what at the time, and hashing it out, back and forth. Until they realized, look, Michael's lawyer said, listen, Michael's bidding on his catalog on his own. It's no other agenda. This is about him. And it took a few years to get this deal done. I think maybe 8 to 10 years, something like that. It was a long period of time. And the point I'm trying to make to you guys is that, see, white people, white supremacists, and people who even, think maybe your friend or whatever in the white community, some of them may be friends, I'm not going to judge them or whatnot, but there's some, and you think about the higher levels of the game, he stopped talking to Michael. Now, let's just say me and my friend go into business, and I decide I don't want to bid on something, and it might be worth a lot of money, but I say I'm not going to bid on it. Maybe I can't afford it. Maybe I don't think it's going to be worth that much in the future. Michael saw a vision. Michael was a businessman. He learned over the time. He bidded on it, and he got it. And all of a sudden, Paul McCartney don't want to be friends with him, or they don't work together no more. He figured it was kind of dodgy, and his word dodgy, which is slang for scandalous for them in that country. So I'm like, you know what? That's real funny that white folks can be above us in business and make more money than us in business, but the minute a black man gets some power and understands some business, we buy some over them, they got a problem with it now. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just letting everybody know that don't waste your time trying to build somebody else's dream up if it ain't talking about with your own people. See, I made that mistake in corporate America twice. I'm on a different kick now. I'm not building corporate America for no white companies and all. I'm not doing that no more. I'll build for my family. I'll build for my future. I'll build for my community. I'm not building nobody else's dream. I'm just not doing that because I see the long game played out. See, if you're a student of history, you see that these things have been done over and over and over again, but we're just not listening. We're just not watching. We're not paying keen attention to what's going on. Michael Jackson died in I think 50 or whatever, 50-something, if that. Prince died at 57 or whatever. It's like, now Prince, people don't know about Prince. Prince been locking his music down for years now. He's been actually in the background funding black businesses, and he was all pro-black. He's doing a lot of stuff for the community on the low. I think he had a business or some class at UCLA as well, extended program he's doing. But I'm just saying, I think it's kind of funny that miraculously these guys died at the peak of their wealth. Think about that. Michael Jackson buying that catalog, he was in some debts. He mortgaged off of the part of that catalog and got the money he needed. He went on tour and made that money back, then some. See, people thought he was finished. See, but he made some money on tour and got himself back in the saddle. And he came out of that debt, and he had the catalog still. See, that's a no-no white supremacist. People don't understand that there's people out here in the elite. You're talking about billions of dollars, billionaires. They can buy people. They can buy people with weak constitution. You may think somebody's your friend. You make it big. All of a sudden, somebody's ready to sell you out, stab you in the back. Michael Jackson, Prince. How hard would it be to put something in that man's coffee or give him the wrong medication or do something that's going to be detrimental to his health and it could kill him a little later on, not instantly, but later, you see. So I want you guys to think about these things right here. But I do want to talk about Prince, but I'll do it a little bit later, but I'll give you the Michael Jackson piece right there. So just marinate on that for a minute. Now I'm going to bring in a special guest. We have a brother. He's from the Bay Area. He's been grinding the streets out and community activist. He's trying to make things happen for our community, keeping awareness, raising awareness, making sure we're doing the right things, making sure we come together as a unit. And I'm going to bring onto the stage a brother I met at the African Americans Making Connections convention this weekend. We talked for a minute. The brother's a real cool brother, and he's ready to make a difference. Mr. Darris Young. I'm going to bring him onto the phone. Mr. Darris Young, he's going to go into the local politics and what he's been doing to further the community. So I'm going to bring him in. I'm going to open his mic right now. Mr. Darris Young, I see you. Welcome to the Bay Area Black Community Reloaded page and channel. So you go ahead. Your mic is now live, my brother. Welcome to the show. You want to tell the people what you're about? Yes, sir. You want to tell people what you're about and what you're doing for the community, and I'm going to give you the floor.
Thank you, Brother Wolf. It's a pleasure, utmost pleasure to have connected with you Saturday at Alameda County Supervisor Keith Carson's African-American Making Connections event. And we did make a connection, and I'm really, really glad about that. Just a little bit of background about myself. I'm a little 54 years old, and I spent over 17 years in prison. I was incarcerated in 1995 for a 3 strikes offense, and that actually led me to spending 17 years, 2 days, 4 hours, and 20 minutes in the California Department of Corrections. I was released in 2012, and about 2 years after I was released from prison, I knew that I needed to make a difference in the way that things were going in my community, especially with this. People had started to talk about this movement to end mass incarceration, and what did that mean? And when I started to do a lot of my reading and research on mass incarceration, and some things that I knew, that, you know, the war on drugs was actually a war on African-American communities. And so most of the men and women my age who were caught up in the perils of the drug trade, it was actually, you know, due to the fact that a lot of the employment and opportunities during the Reagan years has started to dwindle from the African-American economy, especially right here in Oakland. Michelle Alexander, the author of The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness, she made a great analysis of what transpired right here in Oakland, California, with jobs and resources dwindling from East Oakland and West Oakland, and the economy, especially for men, actually became non-existent. Well, that created a vacuum for the drug trade, and we know what happened after that. So now here I am. After I got out of prison, I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to get into the fold and really trying to stem the tide of what had been our legacy in terms of not being able to shift the winds of the political spectrum for years. And so I was provided an opportunity to go to work for the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, which was actually started by a man by the name of Van Jones. Van started the organization over in San Francisco in the late 80s, and it started off as Barry or Police Watch, and it blossomed in from that point on to the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights. Ella Baker, the namesake, was a great female heroine. She was in San Francisco, and at the time that the SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, was being X'd out by the Southern Leadership Conference, she implored young people to take leadership and to take control of their own destiny and not waiting for the older people to exalt them, because she knew that young people had creative ideas. They knew that they were leaders and they needed to lead now. So that was her legacy. Now, what are we doing here in Alameda County? Well, one of the things that we are doing at Ella Baker Center is that we are in this fight to end mass incarceration. And what do we mean by end mass incarceration? Well, that's trying to change the laws and policies that led to the imprisonment of more than 1 million black men throughout the country, and not counting the women that have been swept up in this craze. And so one of the first things we did that I was a part of was the prison realignment. If anyone knows about that, in 2011, the United States Supreme Court told the California Department of Corrections that due to 2 lawsuits surrounding mental health care and also regular health care, that overcrowding was stopping people from getting the constitutional mandated treatment that was mandated by the Constitution. So the California told the California prison system that they must empty their prison population and reduce it by so many by the 2014. So California came up with this scheme called prison realignment, and I call it prison redistribution because it took nonviolent offenders, non-serious offenders, and placed them in the custody of the county sheriffs. And they gave all the counties money to do this. Now, what we found out in Alameda County that for the first 4 years of realignment, the sheriff was actually getting 50% of the funds. And it was all the reports that came out was that if the counties that spent more money on rehabilitation services, then they would fare better. So we started a campaign that was called 50% Jobs, Not Jails. And what we demanded was that 50% of the realignment money go to community-based organizations so that they can provide our men and women who are coming out of incarceration with reentry services. And Supervisor Keith Carson, he was actually instrumental in getting our demands met because he mandated that 50% of all realignment funding for fiscal year 2015 go to community-based organizations to be able to create employment opportunities, educational opportunities for mental health services, substance abuse counseling services, and any service that was deemed necessary in order to get a man or woman back into the floor of society. And we won that with a 3-2 vote on the Board of Supervisors. So most of our work today is surrounded around ending mass incarceration at the state level, local level, and the federal level. And one of the things that has really troubled me when you look at this movement to end mass incarceration is the absence of the African American church that has been a part of our communities for so long, being absent within our fight to do more to wrangle more money from the Alameda County for services that are needed to put our men and women back in housing. Because if you look at the plight now, it's not enough to send or release men and women from prison, especially our African American men and women who have been victimized by the criminal justice policies since the 1960s. Well, what are they returning to? There's a lack of housing. There's a lack of employment. There's such a lack right here in one of the richest counties in the state. Alameda County, people don't know, they have a $2 billion reserve. And so where's this money going? Now, we have a tendency a lot of times as community members to focus on Oakland, but we need to look at the bigger picture. And Alameda County is where a lot of the money flows, and it starts there. So one of the things that we have to do as a community is to get involved, and so that we can create more opportunities for our young people. We need to really be focused on the school-to-prison pipeline because it's very real right here in the city of Oakland. More African Americans, youth are still being suspended from school. They're missing more days in school because of suspensions for the same things that youth of non-color are not being suspended for. So we have to look at these things. And so most of my work is trying to make people aware of these lifelong disparities that have plagued our communities for far too long and has left us in a drift of male leadership and also female leadership within our communities.
Okay. Question for you, my brother. What do you think the reason is that the black church is not thoroughly involved in this struggle for us? What do you think the reason is?
Well, I can say I think there are a number of reasons, but I think first and foremost, it has to do with their political will to be politically correct. Now, you need to understand that when President Nixon declared the war on drugs or the war on black communities back in the 60s, which was actually followed up by Ronald Reagan, and then most of these draconian policies were ushered in by the Clintons, who created this super predator idea of African American men. You know, it was the black church who actually spearheaded the cry for tougher laws, right? Because they bought into the fact that our men and women were lawless. They were out there that had no moral intake. And so what you look at is that, in being politically correct in that, now to say that, the government was wrong, sometimes it creates an imbalance. And then when you talk about, look at, there was a number of congregations who took George Bush's money for the faith-based initiative. Well, in some ways, that money that they took for that faith-based initiative, something came with that. They could not speak out about, some of the injustices that were going on within, the criminal justice system. So when you take those things and you put them together, then, for them to come out now and say, you know what, everybody else was right and we were wrong, this is not a quote-unquote sin issue, but it's a racist issue that has plagued us, then I do think that puts them in a bind of not being able to be vocal as you would like to be. And I tell you, it was pointed out by a local politician a few weeks ago that it was a time when the African American church, right, they didn't wait for something to happen. They went down to City Hall and demanded the things that they knew that our communities needed. Well, in the last 30, 40 years, that doesn't happen anymore. They're not going in demanding anymore. They wait for a call when something's happened to come in and broker something, but not being on the forefront in demanding and looking at what we need to do to fix a lot of the injustices that have plagued us for far too long.
Now, you see, I'm glad you said that, my brother, because I have a pet peeve about a lot of the black churches today too, because you know what, it's like they pretty much sold out, and a lot of them sold out. And the problem I have with this is that if you look at the long game, it kills me. I don't know, how can I know this? How could you know this? How can a few of us on this call, those who are awake and aware, know this, but they don't know this? You think about it, okay. If they're funding them through the 501c nonprofit organization, they donate money to their church and whatnot, do they really realize that if you allow gentrification, if you allow our young black men on the school to prison pipeline, and they come out and they don't have a job, they don't have activities to get themselves involved in to feed themselves, if they have children left behind, you can't get decent work and income to support those children. They don't realize that one day your church will be closed, your doors will be closed too. I don't understand how they don't understand how this works. The black church for so many years has been the one place we had a safe haven, and we could come there, we could voice our concerns. Now we're on the radio now because it's the last place we can get together as a group. I mean, I have to say, the information I went to the African American Making Connections event, not really expecting a whole lot. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't expect a lot. I go to a lot of places. I go to a lot of events, and it's the same old, same old. But this particular event was really good. I'm glad I went. I was really proud. But here's what I just made me saddened. It hurt my heart to see that there were so many empty seats. There's a lot of good information. Resources were together. I was getting people connections with the people that I need to talk to help build a community back together. But there's a lot of empty seats, and you cannot tell me everybody's working. No, everybody's not working. It's up in the middle of Saturday. They're not working. They just decide to do something different. And what they don't understand is you have money to spend right now. When gentrification is completed and you don't have a job, the Hispanic man has your job, or you don't have a job, you're not creating jobs, you're not a part of the movement to make things happen in your own community, what are you going to be doing with your time, Negro? That's my question. And it's like I'm looking around, it's like, wow, we don't really get it. And now what you say about the faith-based initiative, the FBI situation with the black churches, is now they've taken the last haven for the black community to even congregate. A lot of us have lost our communities. That's why my community is, I want to restructure and rebuild the community. It's called the Bay Area Black Community Organization, and which from here to Sacramento. And my deal is to rebuild a place for us because we have lost all our places. We are scattered around the Bay Area. We're all over the place. People come to church. They congregate at church. Church is the last place we have a place where you can see more black people in a big degree, unless it's a concert or something entertainment-based wise. But they've taken that from us now. So now what we're going to do is the children now have no idea what we had 30, 40 years ago. They have no idea what they're growing up into. And as a lot of adults, they don't see also what we're going towards when they're in their elderly years, when they're senior citizen years. If we allow this to go to transpire, when I'm 65 years old, where am I going to stay? You understand me? What am I going to do? Am I going to have enough income because I didn't have the community support to fund something, to build something for us? White folks is not giving us no more jobs. I'm just letting people know right now, this is over. Because you wasn't here in the civil rights movement, I'm sorry, you missed it. I missed it, but I got people, and I'm from the South originally, and I had the stories told to me. I've had the research done, so I know what we're missing. But do you know where we're going? We're going to get to the point where people not even know who Martin Luther King is. They might take their holiday back. I mean, somebody said the other day, I think Sister said, Black Panther said, she said, looks like Martin Luther King is getting lighter and lighter every time they show him again. Is they going to make him white one day? And I ain't surprised. I'm not going to be surprised. They making movies with Noah and everybody's white people, and they know damn well what no white Noahs in them back in the day in the Bible time. So it's just so much happening right now that the young people are just not aware, and we got so much on social media. I look at the likes and the videos, they look at such corruption, and you got 1 million likes on that junk. You got something positive for our community, nobody liking it, nobody showing up to the events. That's why I'm going to build the right community online, because I've had events. I want to make sure we got the right people involved in those events. So I'm really glad brother, you stand strong and doing your thing. I appreciate you. Go ahead.
That one of the things that's really troubling when you talk about the power of the black pulpit, right? Mm-hmm. Those that dare to speak out against the ills of the government and don't sell out, right? They become ostracized within the whole religious community. Like, take for instance, Dr. Jeremiah Wright, the great preacher, in my opinion, out of the Trinity United Church in Chicago, the former pastor of that church.
If I'm correct, that's Obama's last minister, correct? He had to denounce him to go forward, correct? Yes. Mm-hmm.
And right during that 2008 election, they pulled up some old tapes, right? Some sermons that he had preached almost 8 years earlier in response to 9/11. And he told so many truths in that. Well, what I remember more than anything is behind that controversy, and it wasn't a controversy for me when you tell the truth, right?
Right.
But it was so many people, so many African American people and preachers and church preachers saying that, he shouldn't say those things from, behind the pulpit. And at the end of the day, why shouldn't he? Why should he not tell the truth, right, of what was going on and what has always gone on? Because, if you are relying on the scriptures say that you should know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Well, if you don't know the truth and you're constantly living in a lie, are you ever going to get free? And so it's like, when we keep looking at, I just remember back in the 80s when all the things started to dwindle and all the resources start drying up in West Oakland, right? I didn't, and in parts of East Oakland, I didn't know what was going on. It was hard for me to fathom, but, it was something going on. Now, if you look at, during my time as an organizer, I've been privileged to meet brothers and sisters that are organizers from all over the United States. And these are black men and black women from Ohio to Louisiana to New York, just all over. And they are all telling the same story. It's almost as though this thing was systematic, plotted, and planned, which it was. Now, when you send sent a man off to prison, right, for all these years, then there's nobody left to fend for the family. They can't pay the bills. They can't pay the rent. So what happens is that you start losing the property. And so you look at all of these communities, right, where gentrification has come in. It was a direct result of, in my opinion, systematic removal of people from the land in which they had settled in. And so
absolutely.
Now, people they talk about, well, what's going on with all these, with the cops killing everybody now, it's magnified. Well, one of the things that if you look at it from the colonial piece, right, as African Americans, as the great Stokely Carmichael wrote in his book, Black Power, we have to look at ourselves as being colonized. And so what we have now in all these cities where, these shootings have gone up, when you have people coming back in to resettle, it's just like the cavalry, right? They protected the settlers from the Indians. Is that correct?
That's
so
correct.
Now, what we have in these major cities where all these shootings are going on in a mass and they have quick to pull a gun is that they're protecting the settlers or the people that are resettling back into the inner cities while they push us out into communities far away where there are no resources at. And when you look at that, right, a few months ago I was a guest privilege on KLAW's radio stations. I was privileged to be a part of that conversation on mass incarceration. And the reporter asked me, what did I think about President Barack Obama pardoning men and women and letting them out of prison? And I thought that was a good thing. I really did.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime a man or a woman is released from prison, that's a good thing. But I also thought it was lacking something. And my question was, were they let out with any resources?
That's right.
You see,
Man,
because it's the same thing.
Place,
when they released slaves from slavery, how many people left out with any resources whatsoever?
Right. That's part of the game.
So if people,
that's part of the game. It looks good for TV.
Yes. And if you have no resources of which to plant yourself, get yourself back on your feet, if you don't have a house, a stable housing to live in, have an opportunity for employment, real employment, then what's going to happen is the cycle is going to perpetuate itself all over again. And this thing that they are calling the movement to end mass incarceration, which people from both aisles, Republicans and Democrats, have seemingly jumped on, which this effort has been led by the Koch brothers, then where is that going to lead us? This is going to lead us into another form of Jim Crow. And I think Michelle Alexander pointed that out well in her book. It's going to always come back in a different guise or a different form. And so that it's up to us now to say, you know what? We need to take control of our communities. We need to take the lead in this fight. Quit letting others lead us. If they want to be a part, they can follow us, but we need to take the lead in our own destiny.
I totally agree. And the thing I have a problem with, listen, the black pastors, man, look, man, these people have the most power in the community. Let me tell you something. It's well known from Democratic Party that 99% or 95%, some high, almost 100% of black folks vote for Democratic election. They vote democratically without even breathing. The wind blows. It's Democratic. It don't matter. It's just they know. Listen, I ain't got to go to the people no more. I don't want to waste my time with that. I just go to the black pastor. If I can buy him, I can get him on my team, they'll fall right in place. Because the word is bond, and what the black pastor say is what it is. And I'm just sad. It makes me angry because, man, we in some bad shape right here. Because, listen, brothers coming home from prison, reformed or not, whatever it is, what is he going to do when he get out? He come home to what he know is Oakland, West Oakland, East Oakland. He comes home to what he know is Richmond. And Richmond, the old Richmond he can come out of, going back into, is all white folks now. They're like, who is you? You don't belong here. Let me call the police and get this Negro out of my neighborhood. He looks threatening. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, where are we gonna go? And I understand how people are not teaching their children that. I just told me there's too many single parent homes in the black community because there's no father to watch these boys and what they're doing, and the women have to work two jobs, and you can't blame the men on everything. I mean, you can't blame the men on everything. Women, you guys got to play in this too, because if you chose a better man, you wouldn't be in a situation like this. So it's not all men's fault. I'm not gonna say it's all women's fault. It's not all men's fault. It's both. It's both to blame on both sides. But the point is, what are they gonna do when they get back? There's nothing for them to do. Nobody want to give them even a low-level job. Before we had at least could go and sweep the shop. You know, you could at least go back and wash a car or two, cut some grass. But hell, the Hispanic community got those locked down. So what the black man gonna do when he get out? It's just sad that nobody's addressing this. And the past, some of them going on about their way. You know, well, praise God, and everything. But you know what? When your congregation is gone, you're gonna pastor a church, and you got good money because they donating to the church. You live on the hill, and everybody you pastoring or shepherding, so to speak, is living in the ghetto, man. It's just we'll take some more calls.
Well,
let's get somebody here.
You know what I think? You know, I heard a very important stat, and I think it's something that we need to pay attention to. Now, I think it was pointed out that during Jim Crow era, African Americans accounted for 1.25% of the wealth in America, right? Now, here we are today, despite all the rich entertainers, athletes, and moguls, right? We still only own 1% of the wealth in America. So when you talk about some of the things that Carter G. Woodson pointed out in his great work, The Miseducation of the Negro, right? You know, how miseducated are we when we still are looking at the people that have been co-opted by the system, right, to be our economic saviors? You know, it has to come from the people on the ground. It has to come from the people on the bottom. We're not as people orientated to look at those and organize from the bottom up to get our people, looking at some of the things and re-educating their minds. I like what the great scholar, Dr. And he's not a doctor, but I call him Doctor, Anthony Browder has to say. You know, we have to become mind recovery specialists because, most of us minds have been indoctrinated, right? Indoctrinated to some type of thinking that, we don't have the ability to put forth our own future. If the person that doesn't look like me, if that person is not saying it, then it's not the truth. And I think we've been stuck like that for far too long.
You know what, brother? It's funny you say that because I was watching one of my favorite YouTube channels, brother from the same place from the South, and he had a video titled. He said, "Can you love me as much as you love like you love that white man? Can you love me as much as you love that white man?" And it's true that if we could just flip it and just give it a shot, man. It's like I know people's minds are dysfunctional because of the slavery mindset movement going through the country for years. But listen, the Black Panthers had it right. And I hate to say it, man. Nobody wants to fight. Nobody wants to fight physically. Almost nobody wants to fight mentally either. But the thing is, they're not going to leave us alone. We're going to have to eventually take it. If we're going to have anything in this country, we have to take it. I hate to say it. It's going to have to be taken because they ain't going to just give it to us. The 1% thing, that's a system. Oprah, billionaire system. They let a few Negroes through thinking, oh, you know what? Oprah made it. I can make it. That's not the reality. The reality is it's down to crunch numbers about how many people statistically we can put into a wealth position in the black community, and we're going to leave it at those numbers like that. Can't get too many Negroes in here. Same with moving into certain neighborhoods. They'll let one or two Negroes move into a neighborhood. You get in over 6% or so in the neighborhood. For sale signs start going up, people leaving. Then no, we got to create our own stuff. And that's why I said I'm sorting right now. I tell my friends in the group, listen, sort your circle. We can't bring everybody with us. It's just what it is because everybody's not ready to go. And when we can build a strong team of efficient, we call it the 300. If we can build a strong team, we can do what we need to do. And once other people see what we've got done, accomplished, they're going to want a part of that. Hey, I want to be in on that. But like right now, man, it's like you can't go to the community and get everybody. Everybody ain't going to want to go. Mine's all jacked up and whatnot. But we'll get some questions in here. Make sure if somebody wants to speak, press 1 to raise your hand. I'll put you in the queue. You can ask my brother Darris Young any questions you want. Ask me questions, but I want to give a few people a chance to speak if they want to speak, and I want to go into the whole Prince thing too before we go. So let me look in here real quick, brother Darris. Does anybody want to talk? Let me see if anybody got any questions, any comments. Let's see here. Press 1 on your phone if you got a question, you got a comment. You can speak. Oh, we got somebody. Okay, hang on. Last 4 digits 5769. Hold on. Welcome, brother. You on the air? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mr. Wolf, how you doing?
I'm good, brother. You're on my brother Darris Young, community activist, long-time community activist. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, appreciate you for joining the call. Sorry for the background noise. I just have a quick question. First I want to comment. I appreciate what you guys are doing, Mr. Wolf, and you getting other powerful black men on the line. My question is this: at what point are you going to get a group together and say, okay, this is what I have and this is what we're doing? Of course, the talk show is great. We need this forever. Mm-hmm. But at what point are you going to kind of come back to the group or to this line and say, okay, I got this many people together and this is what we're doing?
I would say, okay, that's a question for me. I'm looking myself personally. I'm looking at about, I'd like to say 500 people, but we'll see how it goes. If not 500, we need at least a good 100 people. And we're gonna go from here, and we're gonna do some things. We're gonna either buy some land, or we're gonna buy some property, and we're gonna build something, and we have a structure going that we can actually start funneling people in there with the right skill set. But we need a few things though before we do that. We need a few things. I'm looking for a good black CPA. Okay. That can't be bought out. That can't be corrupted. I'm looking for a good. I think I met this brother at the Saturday show, civil rights attorney. I'm gonna go talk to him and see what he's talking about. I like to have a black civil rights attorney, and I like to have a black real estate attorney if we can have that. And those 3 things right there, I like to have that, and we're gonna go from there. We're gonna start launching some things that we get some services together for the community, and those who want to be a part of that. We'll launch our black status membership service, and we're gonna start building some wealth, some power, and some connections around the community, so we can have a few things because we ain't got a lot of time. So, like I said, this is my goal because I'm looking at these events, man. Listen, this event was well planned, okay, brother. This event was well planned. It had room probably for what? I don't know, brother Darris. What do you think? 1,000 people there could have been 500 people could have been in the room, and we didn't have it. We had a lot of empty chairs. And I'm not going to spend that and waste my money and my people's money on an event that big of a venue for people not to come. It's not going to happen. I've done a few events out of my own pocket. I'm not doing that no more. I'm looking for the right talent first because when we go forward, we need a strong core to do anything. You train weights, you train martial arts. Your core need to be strong for the moves you need to do in the system that you're working on. So if we got a strong core community members, 1 to 500 people, we can do whatever we want to do. It's all about how far we want to take it because I'm looking at this thing like, listen, while we got jobs, while we got a little money coming in here, this is the time to strike. If we wait till everybody's desolated and demolished, you can't worry about funding a business when you don't know where your next food plate coming from. I've been here, I've been hungry. You can't do it. It's not something you can do. People asking kids to learn at these big schools and whatnot, and they ain't got a good plate of food at home. That's what the Black Panthers talked about. They fed people breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Sister talked about that, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because you need to have people with food in the system so they can go forward. So I'm looking for 1 to 500 people who's serious. We can go to the park and do what we want. We're going to have some community events. I want to get at least 50 for the community events. We get 50 people dedicated. I'm going to launch my documentary day. I got all the equipment. We launched that, and we start taking people and sorting people that way in the community. But right now, we're in a building phase, my brother. We got to build 50 people to start to do our next event, 50 people, at least 50, and we're doing 100 before we launch this program. Because when you go to these investors, you go to people like CPAs, you go to real estate lawyers, they're about business. And you got to have the right group with you to go forward. But they're not going to just come in here and represent
right.
the group if people are not serious. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not about wasting my time and nobody's money or time, because time is valuable and we all working twice as hard nowadays because we black folks and we ain't have it like that. I'm looking to make the right connection with the right people first. And we move from there. We're going to build this thing strong as we can. And we busting heads if we have to bust heads. We're going to bust heads too. If we get down to that, we're going to do that too. And like right now, we're just trying to build a phase. You feel me? We're trying to build a phase right now. But like I said, I'm not building this to somebody just walk up in here and take it away. Not without a fight. They have it their way, because I can teach some people some tactics what we can do, and we can get some things done in an unconventional way. But like I said, first we're in a building phase, and I need to be 50 people strong, 50 dedicated people strong, with their commitment to be at these events, to bring awareness, to launch our group to the point where we can go strong and build a strong core. We need 100 people to turn the membership on. I got a whole plan already built out, waiting for the right people to come along. Listen, one church, one church get like $3 million a weekend. Listen, if I was big as Allen Temple, if I was the pastor of Allen Temple, we shut this thing down by now. But they have 4,000 or 5,000 members or whatever. They told me they lost half of their membership already. But if I had that kind of membership strong, we could do whatever we want to do in the Bay Area, whatever. From here to Sacramento, any which way we want. We have 5,000 members. We can do what we want to do. But I don't understand why nobody sees that. It's not just me. It's a numbers game. But you know what? It's commitment, it's belief system, and the slave mentality. We got to sort them out. You ain't ready to be unplugged. We can't move with you. When you're ready, you come back later. But right now, we got to keep moving, because I've seen people waste a lot of time with their own family members, with their own friends, and they just brain dead. You got to cut the cord, man. You got to cut the cord. We don't have time to mess around. These people are bearing down on us like you wouldn't believe. I tell people right now, I said, listen, when Oakland's population gets to the point where it's only like 5% black folk walking these streets, watch how the harassment get like you in Walnut Creek somewhere. If you've been to Walnut Creek, you understand what I'm saying. So when we get down to lower levels, we only got 5% of the community, you ain't going to be able to walk down the street as a black man in the place you grew up 20, 30 years. Because they look at you like, what you doing over here? Because it ain't black no more. So I'm not moving to Antioch. I'm not going to Bay Point. I'm not going to Pittsburgh. But I know how they're getting down out there. Ain't no water out there. It ain't no resources out there like that. It's just things you need to think about, a lot of things. I'm definitely not going back to the South. So that's the goal, my brother. We want 50 people strong for our next event, and we want 100 people to turn the membership on. We get that, we're going to go forward. Okay. We got everything we need.
Well, 50 minus 1, 49. You're a man with a plan, and I definitely appreciate, what you said, because, everybody can't lead, and, there are some people that are great followers, and that kind of makes them, somewhat of a miniature leader in itself. And I have one question for, I think it's Brother Darris.
Yes, Darris, yep.
Well, real quick, you had mentioned Jim Crow, and basically I think you kind of say how his energy is coming back.
Hold on. I think he dropped off. Hold on, let me see.
He dropped off? Okay.
Let me see. Maybe his phone died. Let me see. I don't see him here.
Okay.
Hang on.
Yeah,
let me see what happened here. I think he's off.
You have my support. I'm definitely wanting to see our people do something other than what we're doing now. Definitely.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, brother. Because we need to have this done. I think his phone might have died. Let me see.
Okay.
Hang on.
Well, no big deal.
Hold that question, my brother. I'll come back to you. Hold that question. I'll come back to you. Okay. Hold on. Hang on the line. Okay. Anybody else got any questions? I'm gonna try to get my brother back on the line. Let me see. Let's see who we got here. Okay. Press 1 if you're new to the conversation. Press 1 to get into the queue, and I'll unmute your mic. You can speak your mind, say what's on your mind. Any questions, we got answers. Any comments, we can listen to you. Let me see here. What I also want to do is I'm going to bring in Mai. I think she's on here. She also was the event. I want to see some good pearls she brought, wisdom from the weekend's events. So I'm going to let her get on here and speak what she learned. She went to 2 different classes too. So let me see. Mai, you there? Ma, you there? 2697? Or is that? Oh, I'm sorry. That's Brother CJ.
Yeah.
Can you talk? How you doing, my brother? Okay, his phone dropped. His phone dropped too. So let me see. Hang on, let me see. I'm gonna get my brother here. I got his email, brother. I'm gonna get you in the call. I know you got a lot on your mind, a lot to say. Call at 6814. I'm gonna unmute your mic. 6814. How you doing, my brother? I know you got something you want to say. Brother 6814. You're live on the air. You got any comments? Okay, I know he come back to him. He walked away. Okay, 9339. Go ahead, Mai. Tell us what you learned from the event this weekend.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Go ahead. Tell us what
Okay.
you learned from the event and what some of the courses that you took at the event. Give us some insight on the things you learned.
Okay. Well, that was my first one of those type of events, and I'm assuming there's been 3 based on the 3.0 given in the title. I hate that I missed the first 2 because it was really, really a good seminar. Like you, realized it was very, very well organized, well planned out, and was quite disappointed to see so many empty seats. I was wondering, I actually did have a question about, I don't know who other than the mayor, organized it, but how they went about advertising it. That was one of my questions is, was it so empty because the word just wasn't out? Did they not, advertise it long enough? I think I saw it on Facebook. I don't know, other than that, how else they advertise it. And I know a lot of people, especially younger people, no longer get on Facebook. So I don't know. That's one question I have that I don't know if you even have the answer to. But if you get the brother Darris back on the line, since he was one of the presenters, I guess, at the event, he might know or have some insight on that. But so I'll wait and ask, do you have an answer, first of all? Hello? Sean?
Yeah, hi. I was just checking with Brother Darris. He's going to get back on his call so he can answer those questions.
Okay.
He wasn't one of the presenters per se, but he's one of the vendors. He's one of the vendors there.
Oh, okay.
So he wasn't presenting, but
well,
he was one of the vendors.
So do you know how they went about advertising it, though?
Here he is. Hold on. I'm cutting back on. All right. Brother Darris?
Yes.
All right, hang on one second. People got a few questions for you. Let's see here. Darris is back on. Maybe you can ask some of the questions you had. This is this is Darris, Brother Young.
Hi, Darris. Thank you for being there and for all that you do and for articulating well as you did when you first were on the line. I appreciate that. I have a question about the advertising because, like Sean, I was there and quite disappointed that there were so many empty seats. And being that you were a vendor, I wondered if you know how they went about actually putting the word out and if that had anything to do with maybe why so many seats were empty. Did you have any insight as to how they went about advertising it?
Well, keep in mind that as a community organizer activist, I normally a lot of my work is adversarial with the Board of Supervisors, but I also have a good relationship with Supervisor Keith Carson. I was a young man or a youngster when Keith was growing up. He was older than me, but I actually knew of Keith when I was a child. That being said, I think a lot of it went out through social media and through the internet and just connecting with a lot of the organizations that operate in Alameda County. Now, with that said, I still think that as organizers now, we rely too much on social media to get the word out. We do Facebook and things like that, but you have to understand people are only going to respond to Facebook based upon what they're looking for on Facebook. So my thing is that if you really want to, fill a place like that, then you have to really get out and do it from the grassroots place. And that's going out, canvassing your districts, knocking on doors, going to public places, BART stations and stuff where we can find our people at. And that's how you would reach them. Because I think we have to keep in mind, even when you do a lot of substantial outreach within the African-American church now, right, we have to realize that even though a lot of our churches are still in the black community, the buildings, a sizable portion of our congregants, especially in the large churches, they come from outside of Oakland, as far as Stockton and places like Modesto, because they've been displaced. So I think that we could have, or that they should have done a lot more grassroots canvassing within the neighborhoods and stuff, because I know that Keith has a very, very what I call vibrant young staff members, right? And, young people do rely on social media, but I do think for an event like this, it has to be social media and old-fashioned getting out, stumping the neighborhoods and stumping the grounds, and also bringing in people that could benefit from some of the services that were there. Because one of the things that was quite disturbing to me is that I don't know if you noticed, but there were some young people there for the event. Well, they were brought in by none other than their probation officer, who was watching every move that they make. And for me, I thought that was kind of like, degrading in some sorts of ways, especially for young people, to be hurtled into an event by your probation officer, right? And so just think about that. So what would it have looked like if there would have been young people that would have walked through those doors, right, on their own, just because they were reached out to and wanted to be there? I think that would have made a much more of an impact on that second part of the event. So I do think that, we got the invitation via, email, because they know that we're an organization that actually gets out there and we have a lot of contact with people. But at the end of the day, it boils down to old-fashioned, legwork, getting out there and reaching out to the community, the people that you really want to get into that room so they can benefit from the conversations that went on. Because just so many of our young people today, they have just like this surface understanding of who the Black Panthers were. They know the logo, they know the hats, they know that, but they don't know any history about, the Black Panther Party. So it would have been benefited to get the young people in that room and others.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Mai?
It did. Thank you. Do you know if they plan on having future ones? Because, like I said, I think they've had. Am I right also in assuming that this was the third one of its kind, just based on the 3.0?
I believe it was, and if I'm not mistaken, and you would, I believe these events only happen like once every 3 years. And as you know, Supervisor Carson, who he is actually getting ready for his last run. So, what's the future of this? I do think, I don't know if they should wait another 3 years to have it, because I do believe that the time is right, the time is now to have it again, maybe within a year or so, and just, pack that place, make it packed to where, it's standing room only. And I do believe that the time is right and it can happen, but it's about going out there doing it the old-fashioned way too, along with social media.
Wow, I agree with you. It's at least the second one, because I remember seeing a notification, I think a few years back, or either a year or two, about the other one. So it's at least number 2, maybe number 3, because they said several years. I heard the Brother Carson say about doing it for 6-7 years. So maybe it is the third one in a few years. That's a long time to wait. We cannot wait that long for an event like that. And I just wish I would have went to the first one now. Wow, I didn't even know, brother. He said he's getting ready to retire too. Man, it's almost a wrap, man. It's almost a wrap. But I want to make sure that Edwin gets his question. He had a question for me, brother. I'm gonna pull him back on the line. 5769. He had a question for you, but you dropped off. You there, brother? 5769.
Yeah.
I got brother Darris Young back on the phone, so you go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Okay, how you doing, brother Darris?
Hey, I'm doing good. And yourself?
Not too bad. I appreciate you joining the line tonight. Just had a quick question. I know you have briefly mentioned Jim Crow and basically his energy resurfacing in different forms. And, you know, that was a very evil man, but he had a lot of influence over a lot of people. So my question is, how do we as a people combat that, you know? Because when I look at how we deal with each other, we're quick to kill each other. We'll jump on each other's head in a Chinese minute. But when it comes to dealing with white supremacy, a lot of us, not all of us prove to be quite timid. So how do we combat such a powerful force?
Well, you have to okay. Let me see if I can answer your question from the practical standpoint and not what academia has taught me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, we have to be aware that where we are today is built over a period of time, right? Going back to when they actually brought us, you know, off of the slave ships and onto American soil. And one of the things that we discount is the psychology that they used to separate us, right? And there's a document that was called the Willie Lynch Letter. And Willie Lynch was a slave owner over in the Caribbean. And he wrote this provocative document that basically laid out the foundation on how to control the slaves. And one of the ways that they did it was by psychological means. Now, we're of the impression, because these are the lies that we have been told all of our lives, that, you know, the black African tribes were at war with each other and they sold each other into slavery. But that's not exactly the entire truth behind the matter, because if you ever watched the movie Roots, and I think one of the most powerful scenes in the movie Roots is that first part of that movie, the scene when they took Kunta Kinte and the other young boys to get them trained manhood training. And there was a question asked of them. If your enemy surrounds you, if you have your enemy surrounded, and talking about other African tribes, and you have a chance to kill them, what do? Do you kill them or do you let them go? Well, the answer was that the young people said, well, you kill them. And the elder said, no, you let them go. Because when you do that, right, they will remember that and have that same compassion for you. So we weren't bloodthirsty savages running around killing each other, right? And so what we have to look at is that a lot of the behaviors that we have endured now basically are from trauma. And we do have to understand that what this psychologist, he's a black psychologist by the name of Dr. Joy DeGruy, and if you've never read the book, I would suggest that you read it. It's called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, and it's built around post-traumatic stress disorder. So many of us suffer from generations of that. Now, the second thing is that, you know, until we have been taught to hate each other more than we do racism, well, until we start to hate racism more than we hate each other, then we'll always be at the person's throat that looks like us. And when we're battling for the same limited amount of resources within our communities, right, then that only exacerbates the problem. So I do think that it's incumbent upon us. We're always waiting for us to be taught these things in the schools or whatever. But, you know, we can't wait that long. You know, what we need to do, you know, how many of us have go out within our communities and establish book clubs so that we can begin, you know, reading some of the works of our great scholars that take us back to our past to recover our minds and what we need, you know, the things that we're not learning in the schools, the things that we have never been taught. All it takes is time, you know, and if we devote, an hour or 2 hours of our night a week, to having book clubs and reading some of the works and start doing these discussions. Can you see how that recovers our minds and revives our souls? And at the end of the day, it revives our community. So I do think it's incumbent upon us as individuals, to take that first step. I think it was back in 2014, the Piedmont Theater showed Hidden Colors 3, and that was a beautiful event, right? It was in Piedmont, and it was nothing but young black people there, right? And it was, to see us all these young people come together in this one venue, right, and view a powerful documentary like Hidden Colors 3, right, and then want to talk about it and expand and see what we can do to put these things together. That was powerful. Now we have to follow up on these things. We can't have feel-good moments. It can't be evanescent and fleeting, because we've gotten into the point to where we do things for a minute, we feel good about it, and then we move on about our business. Well, we can't feel good about it. We have to be what Malcolm X says: it's only when a man gets angry, right, when he decides that he wants to change things by any intelligent means necessary. So, what's our intelligent means? Reaching out to our people, forming book clubs, going out and embracing the people that we normally don't talk to, getting them into the fold, getting them into the mix, because at the end of the day, it's the people on the ground that are going to be movement builders and movement movers.
Okay. All right. Thanks, my brother. I got one more question because time is running here. I got somebody I'll bring into. Thanks, brother, calling in. I'll mute you real quick. Here, I got to get somebody else in. Okay. All right. Here we go. Brother, last digit is 2697. Brother CJ, 2697. Well, you're on the air.
Hello?
You're on the air, my brother.
Hello?
Welcome to the show.
Hey.
I hear you. You're on with Brother Darris Young, community activist, long-term community activist in the community. And you got some questions or comments that you want to bring to the floor?
Yes, I did want to just make a comment. I was driving. I was working late tonight, guys. And I just wanted to say I appreciate this show. And I was glad that someone did mention Jim Crow, because this is where the essence of our problem is coming from, and it's things that have been taught and are instilled in people's minds, this is what we know, and I'm not sure what to do about it, but that's where the problem is. And I was glad that somebody mentioned it, and I just want to say this for whoever's listening, that, my name is CJ, I'm a carpenter, and I have a few skills. I'm not sure exactly how they can be used to help our people, but I'm a person that's ready and willing. And if there's somebody who has a specific use for me, they can use me. That something that's going to help our people. They can talk to Sean off air. If they know Sean, they can talk to him off air. And Sean, you have my permission to give him my number.
Okay, I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
I got one more. Let me see. Now, I think mine want to go and discuss the events and tell you what she learned from that event. She did a couple of different classes, so I'm going to unmute her mic again. Go ahead, the other half of your story.
Okay, I was just answering your question. I was thoroughly impressed with the panel that spoke about their experiences in starting businesses in Africa. I wasn't expecting that. When I read the synopsis about what the Making Connections was about, I didn't really take it literally, thinking that they were going to really literally connect us to Africa. I thought it was more about making connections as African Americans here, and in our community. But that was a wonderful addition. And their panel, like I said, the panel was great. Everyone who spoke was very informative and very encouraging, because I had actually thought several years ago about, and still thinking about it, starting a business in Africa. And I'd seen a couple of different documentaries about African Americans who have gone over to different parts of Africa and been able to start successful businesses there. And, and thinking about something you said a few weeks ago on this call, Sean, about basically if we can't do it here, then let's pack up and go there,
Okay.
And I'm really not opposed to that at all. And I really, there's days I feel like I'm ready right now. I would leave tomorrow, no looking back. I denounce in a minute, and then there's other days that I feel differently. And of course,
right.
we know that there's, Africa is such a large continent. The experiences are different depending on the country you're in. But anyway, that was a really encouraging and a really good session that I attended, speaking about different people who actually are currently running businesses that are successful in Africa. And I got some good information and a couple of cards from a couple of people, knowing that you have to have a sponsor over there. So that was really, really wonderful. The other session
what about
that I really was
the black male?
Sorry.
I want to talk about that. You
went
to
that's
the black
the one I
male
was getting ready
class,
to
right?
go to next.
Okay.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also a really encouraging and good seminar with a wonderful panel as well. They had a plethora of speakers on that panel that came from different, aspects of the community, from law enforcement themselves to, educators and people who had come up, gone through the system working with like Boys Club type and been in the, Boys Ranch and that, what they're doing now, and they were all successful, and just the data that they provided on the statistics was such a positive outlook. We often hear about all the negative data and how bad we're doing as African Americans and African American males, especially as it relates to, the crime and incarceration rates compared to the population, how they're just astronomical. And yet, and I can't remember his name, I think it was Muhammad, Brother David Muhammad, gave, and he's a part of the criminal justice system, works in, I forget which prison, but he told of how much of a decrease since he's been on the force that there has been of African Americans in that facility in particular, and it's been like an 800% decrease. Like, we don't hear that. People don't talk about that. Those numbers of how it really is getting better. There's just certain, and like Michelle McKinney points out in her book, The New Jim Crow, statistics are so skewed in the way that we get them, and also another person who's really good at talking about the statistics and how they're skewed in the way that they give them to us, to make us hopeless rather than hopeful.
You mean Michelle Alexander? Mm-hmm.
Who did I say? Michelle McKinney. I'm sorry, Michelle
You
Alexander.
said
Right.
Michelle Alexander,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle Alexander, the new Jim Crow, but also Dr. Jenks Morton. Jenks Morton. Sorry. Jenks Morton is also another, he's a documentarian, a doctor, he's a teacher, a PhD, and he's also put out a few documentaries that talk about the statistics and how we really have made progress in certain areas, especially with the high school dropout rates, and but yet the stigma and the stereotypes and the things we hear and how the data is given to us makes it look exactly the opposite. For example, he asked the question to a plethora of people, in his video, are there more black men in jail or in college? And I think 1 out of 100 people said in college, and that one person was right. There actually are more black men in college than in jail, and so just hearing, like I said, this panel on the outlook and where we are as African Americans, and then particularly, again, they focus on African American males, it really is encouraging, and there really are a lot of African American men doing great things. A lot of them are graduating from college. A lot of them are successful. A lot of them are not going to jail or not dying or not going to prison, So just to see that light, hear some other data coming from another story, being told, having a face on it. A lot of young men were in there who were doing some really progressive things and who have a sense of community and really want to help uplift their own community and stay in their community. It was really, really encouraging. I was really well pleased, impressed, and just, again, wish more people, I wish, it was full. I wish there were just more people in the seats to just hear that and see that there's so many progressive black men right here in the Bay Area that are doing their thing, but, we just don't hear enough about them because we always focus on the negative. It's, like they say, good news isn't news. So if it's not, murder, crime, theft, going to jail, getting beat down or whatever, it's not going to be in the news. And that's unfortunate, but that's our plight.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Now, you said something that I want to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. You said something that I want to, Brother Darris, Darris, to address. Me and you were talking, Brother Darris, at the vendors booth. You said that because what she was talking about just now about is not that it's a decreasing population of young men in jail or prison or whatever. You talked to me about some initiatives going on behind the scenes that they're trying to boost the population of jail again. Can you talk to that real briefly about that? You remember that conversation
Yeah.
you talked about? Talk about that briefly.
Most recently, the governor released his budget, and his budget is calling for the construction of 3 new prisons before he leaves office. Now, when you look at the fact that there's been legislation and laws passed that are actually reducing the prison population, such as the Proposition 47 initiative that was passed by the voters that took 5 felonies and reduced them to misdemeanors, right? They're reducing the prison population. So why are we looking at forecasting building new prisons for the next 3 years?
Before you go, I don't cut you off. Before you go, I want to make sure you be clear. You said the governor. Now, we're talking about California governor, correct? Jerry Brown,
yes,
right?
California governor. Yes, Jerry Brown.
Okay, before he leaves, he wants to institute some 3 new prisons in California.
Right, and build 3 new prisons, and it will be over. So the construction will probably start, before his last term is up, and it would probably run through the time that the next person, whoever that might be, becomes governor. Now, it's a known fact that prison building and forecasting is based upon educational achievement. So a lot of the things that they look at is one of the things that they look at, and they will deny this until with their deepest breath, but I've been told by people who actually have worked in the legislature, work with forecasting prison growth, is that they look at the reading level of individuals. And they forecast prison building by the fact that if a person cannot read or write by the time they're in 3rd grade, then they say that person is most likely to end up in prison. And so instead of using our resources that we have now and put them back into the schools, reinvest them, what we call justice reinvestment. Reinvest these resources into the schools and the communities that were hit the hardest behind the war on African Americans, which was the war on drugs, right? Instead of investing in after-school programs and tutors to make sure that our children are reading, and if their parents have a problem with reading, getting them resources to help them read and study, then what's going to happen is that before we know it, right, the prison population is dwindling, but it would also rise again based upon the fact that they need to fill these prisons up. And that's what actually happened when they started the war on drugs back in the early 1980s. They started, California went from 12 prisons in a matter of less than 15 years to almost 32 state prisons. So if you look at that number, right, these things were forecasting. So it's extracting resources from the most vulnerable communities and putting them back into prison building or jail construction, county jail construction.
There you go. Now I want everybody to understand something. If he's thinking about building 3, now I want to make sure people understand this too. This is a Democratic governor, okay? Democratic. What most black folks vote, Democratic. I'm not saying Republicans are much better, but I'm just letting you know we vote Democratic mostly. Now, this is a Democratic governor, and he plans to build 3 prisons on his way out the door. Now, what they do forecasting, that means that they're projecting they're going to fill these prisons up, or they wouldn't be building them. Now, who do you think is going to be in those prisons if they're forecasting 3 more additional prisons in the California state? So that's going to be our children, some people's children, and some of us older men too, maybe perhaps. But my point is, this thing is really out of control, and He's doing this as he leaves. Look at Clinton. On his way out, he passed the crime bill. You think Hillary Clinton's going to be much better for our people? I think not. And it's just a lot of things going in the pipe. People not getting themselves prepared for. And we're going to wake up. You're going to be that frog in the water boiling over and floating because you didn't get out when it got warm. It turned the heat up on you. You think it was that hot, and you find yourself you couldn't get out of the water. And that's where we're going right now. So that's the deal with that. I want to thank my brother Darris Young for coming on, discussing those things with us. Before we go, we got about 4 minutes. I want to discuss a little bit about Prince. I looked at research. Prince wealth is looking at somewhere around $500 million. Okay, $500 million, and he died in the elevator of his home. They say he worked an ungodly amount of hours, 140 some hours straight or whatever. But I still don't believe that's the reason why he's died. But that's my theory on the whole deal. My deal is that this guy was a rebel. He woke up to be a rebel. He's promoting black businesses. These guys are building wealth. Both Michael Jackson and Prince, trendsetters of their time, both sitting on maybe $500 million almost, okay, after things were done, the catalogs bought. So I'm saying is that I think somebody maybe put a hit on them, silently hit. I don't believe, because the things I know about how things get done, based on things I've been learning from my cousin who was in the field of training combatants, military, as well as police forces and other covert agencies and contractors. I know how things get down, and I don't really believe these two men have died mysteriously like that. But they can put a spin on the media however they want to do it. But you look at, if you got a billionaire on the verge of being a billionaire like Prince and Michael Jackson were on the verge of being a billionaires, that's turned around and woke up from their slumber to support the black community. Think about what that means. You got new leadership in the community from entertainment world who's turning around funneling their money back into the community. What a concept. Now, how do you think that's going to affect the next generation of white supremacists coming up today? They cannot allow people to get that strong and that powerful with their minds intact. Why do you think everybody's around getting their own labels and buying their own labels? Dr. Dre, he's a billionaire now. He sold his Beats by Dre to Apple. But I don't think he's smart enough. I'm going to just say it because of what he did with UCLA, donating all that damn money to UCLA, who has plenty of money, and he just foot around and didn't even donate to none of the historical black colleges who were falling apart. I don't respect him for doing that. You made money off black community by pushing that trap music. Now you get to be a billionaire with your little products. You send your money to the UCLA. I'm not feeling you, Dr. Dre. I'm not feeling that. So now I'm thinking to myself, you know what? You might be with them people right now, but guess what? They ain't gonna leave you with no billionaire. Michael Jordan, same thing with them high price shoes. And you got your little Cuban woman now. You divorced your wife of all these years. I'm not feeling you like that. Business wise, I'm not feeling these cats. And I'm gonna tell you right now, they billionaires now. Don't think that they're gonna let them keep that money if they're not smart. So I'm just saying that you're going to see a lot more whitewashing going on in the entertainment industry. It's happening in TV already. That's why all the black folks is watching TV programs like Netflix, TV shows, because all the white entertainment taken to the box office with all these big hits with white folks on there, no black folks. So I'm just letting you know that's why they're doing all of this. We got about a minute and some change. You say something, brother?
I'll do it.
What's that? Oh, he's talking to somebody. But yeah. So I'm just saying is that we got about 9 seconds left. So I just want to say a big shout out to the family of Prince. But like I said, Prince actually was a trendsetter, sitting on $500 million in the vault. I hope he had a will and trust set up. But they were doing big things for the community before they mysteriously died. So I'm telling you guys, just watch your friends. Be careful who you respect and you love, and trust in better judgment for our people to go forward and rebuild our community, because people are going forward, they're going down by storm. So in respect for Prince and him dying, I'm gonna lead a show with When Doves Cry by Prince. Rest in peace, Prince and Michael Jackson, trendsetters of the industry, and they try to help the people in their 50s, and they led to their demise. But much respect to them. Good night, family. Love you guys.